Welcome to the Leading Results Fitness Podcast, interviewing some of the best athletes in the world, discussing the training, diet and supplement principles of top coaches, educating you on all the things fitness and business. Sponsored by the UK's cheapest supplement supplier, My Gym Supps. Find all the top brands and lowest prices at www.mygymsupps.com. Also sponsored by the only female subscription site, Pro Female Fitness, where you can find some of the UK's best athletes discussing their diets and training with an interactive forum where you can ask any question and the athletes will get back to you. They have a library of over 300 videos to watch and learn. Now let's hand over to your host, Rob Whitfield, with this week's episode.
Hi, and thanks for joining us again today for another Team LRF podcast. So today I've got Jamie Rego, IFBB Pro, and one of the top prep coaches in the UK. Jay, how you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you. And it's good to be, online and chatting to you, and hopefully we'll get into some interesting topics, no doubt.
Yeah, sure, man. So Jay, tell us about your bodybuilding career first. So where did you start? Obviously, I've seen you compete several times, even when you were doing like UKBFF English Grand Prix and stuff like that. So where did it start? What happened for you?
Basically, I started in the natural bodybuilding scene when I first started. My first show was, I believe, 17 years old. I started as a natural from 17 to 21, and then obviously moved into UKBFF and went down that route. And pretty much from then on, obviously, then with the whole IFBB switch, moved on to there. But I started as a very young bodybuilder, and I basically was in the gym one day, and one of the ladies, she said to me, "Have you ever thought about competing?" And in my head, I was like, "Competing? Like what?" No, I never thought about bodybuilding. So at that time, I used to play rugby and play out sports, so I was obviously in decent shape. She's like, "Oh, I should do a show." So the first show I did was actually the Welsh show, believe it or not. I did BMBF under the teens class, and did the Welsh show there, and then went on to the British. And, that's when I found the passion for bodybuilding. And obviously from then on, it was just a case of trying to get better every year. And kind of that's what's progressed me and got me to this point now. So I've been bodybuilding nearly, 10 years now. So it's crazy when I think about it, because I feel old, you know what I mean? Even though technically I'm still quite young for a bodybuilder, it makes me feel old when I say I've been doing this for 10 years.
Yeah.
Competing, messing up, getting it right. It's crazy, man. So 10 years it's been. So that's why, you'll know it yourself when I hear people talk about pro cards and that, and they want a pro card within, a year, and they've only just started training. I've been competing for 10 years, and it took me, I turned pro at 25, so it took me eight years to turn pro.
Yeah.
So it's a long time. And now guys want it in they've not even won a show before.
They want it in 10 weeks.
They want it in 10 weeks and not even won a show before, and they're talking about going pro. I said on a post that, I've won shows, I've won multiple shows, I've won overalls as a junior, but I've also lost shows, I've come close. I've been through it all. The good times, the bad times, over 10 years, 8 years that it took me to turn pro. So, I think a lot of people need to understand that it's better not to rush it. It's better to take it nice and slow, because at least when you turn pro, then you're in a position where you can step up very soon. Whereas a lot of guys we'll see now turn pro with the new system, and they probably won't be able to step up to the pro league straight away. Yeah. So that's basically my a little bit about me.
Sure, man. So tell me, Jay, your first show experience. When you competed for the first time, did you really enjoy it? Did you think, "Oh, this is just going to be a one-off"? Like your first show, what was it like?
You know what? Like, a lot of people ask me this, and it's funny, man, because I actually don't get a massive buzz out of being on stage. It's not like you're a coach yourself. I actually I get more hyped and more buzzing about seeing people on stage than actually myself.
Yeah.
But I love the process of getting to stage ready. Do you know what I mean? So a lot of people said to me, "Oh, do you get a buzz out of being on stage?" And to be honest, I wouldn't say it's I get a massive thrill off it. I actually enjoy the process of getting to stage ready more than I do enjoying being on stage. I actually enjoy to see like other people on stage. Like you've probably seen me in a crowd at like some of the shows. I'm getting hyped and running around. I'm shouting. Do you know what I mean? And that's more exciting for me than actually stepping on stage myself. But, you know, obviously I've got goals of where I want to be. And I know I obviously have to get on stage to achieve them goals. But I wouldn't say, you know, I remember the first time being on stage, man, I was like so nervous. Because obviously, like, I come from a rugby background and, you know, when we're putting on little posing trunks and then we've got to do a routine and that, it's just total opposite of what we're sort of used to growing up.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my first experience. I was nervous as hell, man. I was a little kid, like 7 years old. I remember being like, what the fuck am I doing here? You know, it was nerve-wracking to me back then, because I think back then it wasn't as, you know, now it's very popular with the whole Instagram. You know, back then there was no, I don't think there was Instagram back then. I think we had MySpace. MySpace. And, you know, there wasn't a massive social media influence back then. And I think, you know, now it's a little bit different. Everything's covered. You know, a lot of people will step on stage for the social media aspect, whereas back then it was just like a bodybuilding show.
Yeah.
That makes me sound even older.
I know. When I did my first show, 2012, nobody in the gym had competed. That's how much the industry has changed since then. So, and I'm sure you were the same as well. There's probably a handful maximum of people in the area or in the gym that have ever competed.
Yeah, it was unheard of then. Whereas now, man, everyone's been on stage doing a bikini show, doing a men's elite show. You know, it's got real popular over the last few years, which is great for the industry, and it's good for the likes of me and you, but also has the other side of it.
Yeah.
And I think as well, like when this whole situation now, with what's going on, is really going to show the ones that are serious and the ones that were just doing it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, sure. So you've done your first show, Jay. You've done well at your first show. You've gone to the British finals. Now let's push forward a few years. When did you think, right, I could turn pro and make something of this?
I'd probably say when I won the overall as a junior, because I think I was 20. The first UK BFF shows I did, I was 21. And I remember I did not win a show that year. I placed like second. Then I think I placed second at the Welsh. And then I placed like seventh for the British. And then I didn't even place the last show. Because I did, back in the day, they used to have the one where you qualified at the end of the year for the next British. Yeah. And I remember after that, I was like, honestly, I was like, I don't like this bodybuilding shit. Like, I don't think I'm very good. So I remember the next prep I did in 2000, and I can't remember what it was. I was 22 anyway, just turned 22. And that prep, I was very, very relaxed. You know, I actually got my first like proper coach that prep. I worked with Fakiri, and I was very relaxed. And, you know, I just kind of like tried to enjoy that prep. I was like, oh, I'm not going to take it too seriously. I'll just enjoy it and just see how it goes. And it was that show where I won the juniors and I won the overall, and I beat a lot of the guys who had won previous Britishes before. And it was then I remember a few people said to me, it's like, you've got potential to go all the way. And I was like, didn't think much of it, because at the time I just liked enjoying it. But I think it was then that, you know, I started to believe in myself more. When I was younger, obviously I used to read the magazines and I'd be like, man, it'd be epic to be in like Flex and be at that level. But I wouldn't say I really started to believe it was possible until I was like 22. And then it was like, okay, you know, my goals to turn pro is by the time I'm 30. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, when I was younger, yeah, it was a goal. I knew I wanted to take it far, but I didn't really, like, I kind of believed, but didn't. Do you know what I mean? It was only when other people start to take notice of you, you start saying, oh, shit, like, maybe I can, like, really do something here. So I think we all had that breakout year where then people start to take note. And for me, that year was 2014. That was sort of my breakout year where people started to recognize who I was. Do you know what I mean?
Sure, yeah. And then, so 2014 comes now, you're 22, you're now sort of believing in yourself. And I'm just trying to get the listeners to sort of put themselves in your situation. So you don't turn pro now until you're 25. And obviously, I saw you compete in Spain, Alicante, which I think you're probably a year before that, and you were close, you came third.
Yeah.
That was the best I saw you look. And then, obviously, I didn't see you then turn pro the year later, but there was a succession of shows that you did back to back to back, and then obviously then you went and you turned pro. What is your mindset when you're getting second, third, you're close, you're almost there?
You know what? That's probably the hardest part to take, is when you are close and you keep getting knocked down. Like, I remember Cito said to me, he's like, as an amateur, he said, you got to be Teflon. He's like, you got to be like Teflon. You got to expect to take hit after hit after hit. And one day it'll just be the right show, the right time, and it'll be your day. You know, when he said that to me, I was like, fuck, it's true, man. It's like, you just got to keep taking the hits, and eventually your day will come. But I mean, that's probably the hardest part, is, like, in my opinion, second's the worst place, because you're so close, but you're just not good enough just yet. Do you know what I mean? And that's the worst. In my opinion, I'd rather place like fifth, sixth, and second, because second to me is like, you just weren't that good enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yeah, that was obviously the mindset. When you're close, it's just, okay, next show's going to be my show. Next show's going to be my show. And that's kind of mindset I had in 2000 and I think it was 2018. Yeah, 2018.
Something like that.
Yeah. And that's the mindset I had. I think I placed second, placed third at the Amateur Olympia, which was the big show, and then I placed, I think, 2 seconds. I did second at the UK show. You know, and they were hard to take, because, you know, I knew I was close, but then I also knew I was close, but rather than keeping on going, I was like, okay, I've got to be smart about this, and, you know, give my body time to rest, recover, and then go again next year. Because I think sometimes people are that close, they just think, oh, keep on going. And sometimes it pays off, but sometimes it actually look worse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I knew I was not getting any better, so I was like, okay, time to break and reset and go again next year. And then obviously in 2019, that's when it happened to me. But, you know, I think a lot of people just need to remember that you have to be willing to take a lot of hits. It's not like, you know, you lose and then you give up. Like, you just got to carry on going, and you got to keep pushing. And eventually one day, you know, the day will come where you turn pro. And when that day comes, like, you can't explain the feeling. I remember when I turned pro, I just dropped to my knees. You know what I mean? Because that to me has been something that I wanted to achieve from a young kid, you know, and probably didn't believe that I could achieve that from a young kid to start. And it was sort of, you know, 3, 4, 5 years in the making of just plugging away with it. And my goal, like I said, was to turn pro by the time I was 30. So I turned pro at 25. So, you know, to me, it was like, damn, like, I achieved something that I worked, you know, 8 years. I've been in the gym competing for 8 years for this. So, you know, it is a feeling that you can't really explain, because it just hits you. I remember when they called my number, I was just like, I just dropped to my knees. That's all I remember.
Yeah.
I don't really remember anything else.
Yeah. No, it's quality. Yeah, it's quality. So now, Jay, like, I'd say I've followed your bodybuilding journey for a long time. Like, I know you were a person, Jay, that used to struggle in off season in terms of food. Like, you used to like to eat, whether it be prep, off season. I know you were somebody who sometimes would go off the boil, and I only know that because I know you as a person. So, what changed then in your mindset when you were younger? You used to, you know, sometimes go out and, you know, almost binge and then come back and diet again. What changed for you?
You know what? Like, I think it's a strange one with me, because the more relaxed I got with bodybuilding, the better I became. And sometimes the more structure I had, the worse I would be when it came to that side of the the eating, because I think as bodybuilders, bikini girls, we can all develop like disorders. We can do. Man, I remember my show that won the overall, the Welsh. I remember I used to see Juan Morel do the 24-hour refeeds. And honestly, mate, that prep, I was like, I'm going to do that. If one can do it, I'll do it. Fuck knows how it worked, because I won that show and I won the overall, and I was probably in one of the best conditions I've been in.
Yeah.
But after that was very hard to reset. Do you know what I mean? I remember after that show, like, I found myself, like, I remember after that show, we had a bit of time off, and they were meant to start dieting for, I think it was the Worlds. We had the Worlds in ABBA or whatever. Both me and Steph got an invite to it, and I think we did like 3-4 weeks of prep, and I could not prep to save my fucking life. I'd diet for like 3 days and then just go binge. You know what I mean? And I think it was that at that point I was like, man, this needs to stop. And one of the funny things is, I don't really tell many people this, obviously everyone will hear. One day, so much, I cried myself to sleep, bro. I cried myself to sleep. I never ate like that again, ever again. I ate so much that I just remember being on the top of the stairs, and I was like, I was in so much pain. Like, I literally cried myself to sleep. Like, not many people know that, but I cried myself to sleep. And it was at that point I was like, nah, this has got to stop.
Yeah.
And then I think, you know, from then on, it was just more like trying to find a happy medium where I'm in control. Do you know what I mean? Mm. You know, and I think one of those things was actually working with FAC. You know, he allowed me to have a cheat meal, but we always structured it very well. And I'd actually have the same thing every week. I just made it, you know, a part of a routine. And I think that's the problem you get, is a lot of people will go off, and you need to really, you know, go off direction. You need to really refocus straight away and get something that works for you. You know, find like something that works for the individual, rather than, because we're all slightly different. Like for me, I knew if I had a meal, like what I used to do is I used to have a cheat meal, and I used to go out for like a main meal, get a burger. I'd have like 2 burgers and chips. I'd have 1 slice of carrot cake and 1 bar of chocolate, and I just stuck to that in the off season. Yeah. And that's probably one of that's when my off season started to be very productive, when I kept so much structure.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
And I think that's the key. It's like people lose the structure in the off season and just go off the rails. And it's easily done, man. It's easily done. And I think at that time, you know, having a coach and being accountable was what I really needed. Like, if you left me to my own devices, I'd have just gone nuts and just carried on eating, and probably looked back and been like, how did I get so fat? You know what I mean? And I think it's key that we have, like, if you're in that situation, you do need someone to keep you accountable. And it's got to be someone you respect as well, because you got to respect their opinion and respect their them as a person, because then you're going to stick to it. I always find that, like, you know, even myself with like, if I didn't respect a coach, I'd be like, why am I listening to him? You know, if I'm working with someone who I look up to and respect and want to please, then you know, I'd stick to the plan given to me.
Yeah, sure. So you mentioned a couple of coaches there, Jay. So obviously you had Fakhri Mubarak. People in the UK are not aware of FAC as much as probably what they should be. But obviously FAC has won hundreds of pro cards, hundreds of shows with clients. Very, very good prep coach, very renowned. I know you was with Jordan for a small time. I know you was with Chris Aceto as well. Are you somebody, Jay, who likes to take a little bit from a coach, move on, get some more experience, take a little bit, and then just sort of pick out what you want for your own coaching benefits, or you just sort of move because you felt there was a need to move?
You know what? Like, I was with FAC for 2 years. From 21, I was with FAC to 21. Yeah, for 2 years I was with FAC. I did a little bit of Jordan, but it was more training wise. This was back in like 2016. I did like a bit of training with him, just because that's when Jordan got the hype. You know what I mean? I wanted to see what it was all about, but, you know, no disrespect to Jordan, I didn't find it it didn't work for me. You know what I mean? I did it for like 4 weeks and I was like, nah. but that's not saying that Jordan, everyone can see it works for other people. But with my style and what I'm used to, that sort of training didn't work for me. So the main coach I had was Fak, and Chris really is as my main two coaches since 2014. So I was with Fak for 2 years, and then with Chris till 2019. And then obviously I had the opportunity to go to Kuwait, and then I kind of just ended up doing my own thing for this prep, which, I enjoyed a lot because I learned so much off, two of probably some of the best coaches in the world, in my opinion. And I just felt that this year I was confident enough to prep myself, you know what I mean? And just I don't know, it just felt right this year. Because Chris was amazing. I was with Chris for 2017, 18, 19. And I learned so much off Chris. And I felt like, sometimes it's good to take what you learn from certain coaches. Like, I'm not one who believes in jumping coach every 2 minutes, because at the end of the day, it's like the longer you're with a coach, the more they will learn your body. And sometimes it's right. Sometimes you'll spend 2-3 years as a coach and you just want to try something new, or, look a different way. And I understand that. And that was kind of, with me and Fak, like I came in absolutely peeled, but I was just wanting to see what else I could do. And then Chris was, again, the same. It was condition. And then when I turned pro this year, it was almost like, damn, I know I can be in conditioning, but now I need to be big. You know what I mean? And be big and conditioned. And that's when I, obviously my knowledge gains year by year. And I know how I want to look now. Like, I know as what package I want to bring. So this is when, this year, I was like, okay, I think it's time to take over my own prep. And, with the knowledge I have and the experience I have, I feel like I can bring the best package to the stage of just using everything I know. And, I was really happy with, obviously I didn't get to step on stage because the show was postponed, but I was happy with the look that I brought. Because in the Pro League, I was saying on the podcast the other day, it's a total different ballgame, especially 2-on-2. Like, you need to be big and full and conditioned. Whereas in the amateurs, condition wins. Yeah. But in the Pro League, you come in conditioned, you're going to get destroyed by someone who's just a big guy with a pleasing shape.
Yeah, who's going to be conditioned but 10 pound heavier.
Yeah. And I think it's not always a case of condition wins in the Pro League. We see a lot of big guys win or place very high because of the pure muscle mass they got. Like, a good one was when I went to, you were in Romania, when I was there, Cedric.
Yeah.
Cedric was probably nowhere near as conditioned as Max Charles and some of those other guys, but you could not fucking take away that the guy was just put together so pleasing and was so big, no one could touch him. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's what a lot of, in the amateurs, obviously, we have to come in condition. If you come in peeled, you're going to be in the top 3. Like, that's the way I look at it. Regardless, condition is going to get you seen, and you don't have enough tissue and enough quality tissue to play the size game. But in the Pro League, and especially in 2-on-2, everyone's a very similar height, and everyone's basically around 212 pounds. So you're pretty much just trying to bring a complete package between condition and fullness, and let your shape and structure help you as well.
Sure. Yeah. So we spoke about Jamie the athlete. So now let's look at Jamie the person. As obviously you're a born and bred young man from Wales. You're now living in Dubai. What takes you over to Dubai? What made you move? Was there something that really drew you out there? You've been to Kuwait. What's happening there?
You know what? I actually came here on holiday, and so we came here on a holiday. I took Steph, my fiance, for her birthday, and my sister had lived here for 7-8 years, and I'd never been. So we came over here for holiday. Like, we just loved it when we were here. So when we got back, I remember we were sat in the house in Wales and we were like so depressed, man. Like holiday blues, so depressed. And we were just like, should we just go to Dubai for like 2 months and just see how we like it out there? And we were like, fuck it, let's just go. So we actually left. You know, we booked like a hotel apartment, I think for 6 weeks or 7 weeks. We never came back. We just never came back. But I remember I still had my house, you know, for about 6 to 7 months, you know, with the rent and the contract. I still paid it when I was out here. And I remember I had to get my friend to move all my stuff out and put it in storage. So I was here in Dubai.
Yeah.
So it was a kind of a bit of you know, a rash decision, but it felt right at the time. I'm like always one. I've always taken risks and been willing to take a risk if it feels right. And, you know, I don't regret anything. Like, people who've been to Dubai will know, like, this place is amazing for bodybuilding and just opportunity here. But I think, you know, one thing that brought me here more so was how much they respect the bodybuilders and the access we have and just how people perceive a bodybuilder. Whereas in the UK, it can be quite negative. Whereas here in Dubai, everything's positive around it. There's a lot of respect for bodybuilding here. So, you know, that's one thing that made me love this place.
What about things like the language, the food? Did you find it difficult to start with?
No, because everyone speaks English here. Everyone speaks English, you know, so that was never an issue. The food, again, we have access to everything in here that we do in the UK, if not more, which can be dangerous at times, especially if I was this guy in 2014, man, I'd have been in a bad position here. But no, like, we have access to everything here. It's great for off season. If you like food, you come here for off season. It's amazing, you know. And in prep, you know, you don't really notice it too much because I don't put myself around it as much anymore. But for access and food wise, you know, the quality of food's good. I'd say cost of living is a little bit more. You know, it's probably high end sort of London prices. So it isn't cheap to be here, but the quality of life and the access we have, you know, just makes prep and bodybuilding more like enjoyable. Like this year, I think that's one thing that made me enjoy prep so much is I didn't really stop living my life. Whereas in the UK, I'd find myself like go into a hole and just put myself in like a hole and just live in like, you know, as if they say, take it to those dark places. That's what I used to be like when I was in the UK. Whereas here, there's so much life to experience and, you know, things to do that it really made me love prep this year. Like, I put a post up on Instagram before saying even though I didn't get to compete, you know, I'd still done the whole prep again. Yeah. Because on the weekend, I used to go relax. You know, I'd enjoy a cheat meal. I'd go to like some of the pools, the pool parties. I'd just make it like a life, you know, a lifestyle. Just because I'm at a beach club or a pool party doesn't mean I have to stray from my diet. I bring my diet food with me, but I have the ability to go to these amazing places and amazing hotels where I live, you know, for a reasonable price. So, you know, I think being here has just made prep more enjoyable and life in general more enjoyable. So, you know, it was definitely a move that I don't regret, and I think I would struggle to go anywhere else. I mean, I spent some time in Kuwait with oxygen out there, and you know, I wanted to see what that was all about and go over there. You know, I lived there for 8 weeks. Man, I came back to Dubai for Christmas. I was meant to go back. I never caught the flight back. Never. I was like, man, I can't. I did like 10 days here in Dubai for Christmas, and obviously you get so used to the lifestyle here and how clean everything is, how efficient everything is. When I went to Kuwait, I remember the first few days I rented like the first couple of days I was there, I had like a hotel apartment. I remember getting this apartment. I was like, I can't fucking live here. So how the fuck am I gonna live in this apartment? I had like a leak through my ceiling coming through. It was horrible, man. And I was just like, how am I gonna live here? And after 2-3 days, you just get used to it. You know what I mean? Just get used to it. And the worst thing that for me was coming back home, because as soon as I came back home, I just missed my flight. I just kept putting back my flight. I was like, I'll go on Wednesday. I'll go on Friday. And I just never end up leaving because they opened oxygen in Abu Dhabi, you see. So, you know, once that was open, I was like, nah, there's no chance I can go back to living sort of with, I don't know a way to put it. It's like very basic, you know, like very basic, not much to do. You know, in Kuwait, it's just eat, sleep, train, but there's nothing outside of that. And, you know, Dubai, we have so much access, you know, malls, cinemas, beach clubs. It's just a nice atmosphere to be in.
You're selling it to me, man. You're selling it to me.
Yeah. You'll be here soon. We've already got one come over.
So now let's look at coaching, Jay, because obviously we've gone through athletes and obviously yourself in terms of your life, was taking you away from the UK and brought you down to Dubai. So coaching, Jay, when did you first get into coaching, mate? And what was it sort of something that you saw as a career path?
To be honest, no, I didn't really see. Back when I started coaching, it was nothing like today. Like, I think the first person I coached was 2010, so 10 years ago. And it was just a random message through. I just, you know, I was a kid still. I was only like 17, 18. And it was just a random message through like Facebook messengers, like, oh, do you help people online? And I was like, I don't really help you online, but I can help you if you want. And it basically started from there, to be honest. And that's when, you know, then I helped a few friends for free. You know, back in the day, they wanted to get in shape, so I just did the diet. And, you know, and I think that's when I figured that, you know, it's a service that you can charge for, because at the time I was PTing as well, you know, as a personal trainer as well. So obviously I used to do diets for my clients and put like training programs together, you know, and it just kind of grew from there. And I think then the market kind of started to catch on to online training, and now it's just become like crazy. Everyone is a coach and everyone wants to be a coach. But I started when there was no such thing as online coaching then. You know, the only real place where I started to see online coaching was when I hired a coach myself for Geary back in 2014. That's the real reason. That's the real time I saw coaching sort of start to take off. But back when I started, man, I don't think it even existed. And now it's just gone crazy. Yeah. It's blown up.
Well, the original coaches that I remember from back in the day were me, you, Eddie Abu, who you don't hear of anymore. You don't hear of him anymore at all. Jordan was still around. You still had people like Sean and Helen from Panthers.
Yeah, I know they did a lot. They were doing quite a lot because of the whole UKBFF thing.
Yeah. But
I don't hear from them anymore either.
No, and those five are really the people that I would see show after show, week after week, and it just sort of, like, a couple of the coaches sort of fell off the wagon because their principles were questioned, and they sort of, like, people were starting to implement modern principles, and they sort of just fell by the wayside because they weren't willing to implement them. And now, like you say, like, there's probably everybody's an online coach. So yeah. So talk us through your journey as a coach, Jay. So obviously you started helping people, and then did you ever think, like, this is going to be a proper business for me now? And when did you take it sort of full time?
I think, you know, I always had it going on while I kept bodybuilding, but it was more like close friends and, you know, a few clients here and there, focused more on personal training. It was only 2015, I think, I noticed like a real like increase in business. And that's when I actually decided, I was like, okay, now I'm in a position where I can probably stop personal training and really focus my attention on coaching, you know. And then 2015, 16, 17 were probably the years where I would say I started to get quite well recognized as a coach. You know, and as you know yourself, it all comes down to results and producing consistent results from the start. Like, for example, yourself, you could probably backload 7-8 years of results, and I'm the same. Like, I've got pictures of client transformations from back in 2013, 2012, and I think that's what separates us, because you're not just marketing or just chatting bullshit online. You know, you've been turning out results for year on year, you know, season after season, for the past decade nearly. And I think that's the difference. Whereas now, you know, everyone wants to be an online coach, but they haven't got anything to back up what they know. You know, I can back it up from my own experience on stage, how I've progressed as a bodybuilder, but also I can show what my clients have done. And I think that's the difference, and that's what separates the top coaches from the guys who are just trying to wing it in a sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So where do you see yourself, Jay, in terms of this business aspect now in the next sort of 2 or 3 years? I know you've got your YouTube channel going. Where do you want to take it?
You know what? Like, I'd like to prep more pro athletes, to be honest. You know, and help take it to be in that position where I'm helping people turn pro, like yourself, and you know, work with a few select pro athletes and really focus my attention on those guys as well. I think like we all at different levels. Like, I know Jace, for example, has a lot of first-time clients. You know, yourself, you have a lot of guys who are on the verge of turning pro, guys and girls. And, you know, I'm similar where I've got guys and girls who are turning pro. And I think as a coach, I'd like to progress up the ranks and be one of the coaches that are helping pro guys win pro shows. Because that's, in my opinion, that's a progression for me. You know, and also there's no better feeling than, you'll know it yourself, than having a client turn pro.
Yeah.
You know, so these are the areas that I personally like to focus on. Is you know, the clients trying to turn pro, and the pro clients, the pro athletes trying to go far in the pro ranks. You know, like I said, there's no better feeling than you get a client turn pro. You can't. That's like, it feels almost like I turn pro again every time that happens. Do you know what I mean? And I think for me, that's the nicest one of the nicest feelings, is seeing someone who's worked 5 to 10 years, you know, for a card, and they turn pro. Like I said, it's just like you turning pro all over again.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where I see myself, you know, progressing and just trying to help those guys who are on the verge of turn pro, rather than you know, I'm not. I try to help everyone. If someone works hard, I'm willing to help them. You know, but I wouldn't say my niche is the everyday person, or that just wants to get in good shape. You know what I mean? I'm not. I'm very harsh as a coach. You know, I'm no bullshit. I'll tell people how it is, and I'll be very straight up with them, just like yourself. So I struggle with clients who are very much just everyday clients. Like, that's not my niche. You know, I want to see get clients turn pro, and want to see clients win shows.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, I personally want to focus my attention on, because that's the energy that I can give. You know, I can give my clients like 110% if that's the case. But if they're someone who doesn't really want to do this, but is just trying to, you know, and I'm taking the money, I'm like, no, I'll have your money back. I don't want your money. You know what I mean? It's not my niche, and it's not where I feel I'm the best at. Is you know, the everyday person just wants to lose a bit of weight. I'd happily say to them, no, I'm not the coach for you. Go to work with this guy.
Yeah, sure. And what about your bodybuilding team? Where do you want to be? You know, obviously, I know you have big aspirations, but where do you want to be in 2 or 3 years?
Obviously, the end goal now is to get to the Olympia stage. So, you know, in reaching that goal, I have the small goals of what I've got to achieve in the next few years. Like this year, even though a lot of people said, oh, you'll be on the Olympia stage, blah, blah, blah. In my head, I was like, you know, I need to just beat the placing and what I did last year, this year. You know, and then I'm one step closer to that end goal. But I don't believe in, like, setting goals not so big that they're unrealistic, because I don't think it's unrealistic, but I still need to beat the old me. So for now, to be placed in the top 3 in a show, and then after that is then place second or first, and then obviously get to Olympia, I've got to beat my place in every time I compete, and that's a natural progression that will get me to the Olympia stage. So rather than saying to myself, oh, I want to be on Olympia this year, you know, I don't think it's unrealistic to say that, but as of now, I still need to beat what I did last year.
Yeah.
So I need to make the small baby steps, and eventually, just by doing that, I'll reach that end goal. You know, so in the next 2 to 3 years, I'd say I'd like to be on the Olympia stage, because, you know, if I feel like I can place top 3 this year in 2020, if shows happen, you know, next year I might place second, first, and then I've got my Olympia qualification. So I just think making the baby steps towards that goal, because even by then I'll be on the Olympia stage in 2-3 years' time. I'm still 29. You know what I mean? I'm still very young as a bodybuilder in a class that's, you know, Kamal won the Olympia at 48. So that's 20 more years away. Well, 20, 22, 23 more years away from me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just making those small baby steps towards that goal, rather than kind of getting too caught up in what everyone else is saying. Because you know what it's like, social media blows smoke up your ass, and it's like, oh, you'll be on the Olympia stage this year. Yeah, you can make the Olympia stage here. And that's all I heard this year. But in my head, I'm like, I still got to make top 3. Like, forget the Olympia. Like, Olympia, yeah, I want to be there eventually. But right now, I don't even make top 3. So, like, for me, you got to forget about what everyone else is saying. I got to make top 3 in a pro show before I can even think in my head about, you know, making Olympia stage.
Smart but realistic. You know what I mean? It's smart, but it's realistic in yourself to say, listen, I know, like you said, in the amateur ranks, like it took you 3 years to go from that. So I know what I'm doing to turn pro. It's probably going to take this 3 years to sort of be like, right, I know what I'm doing to get to that big stage again.
Yeah, and I think we'll all have, like, I think I'll have a breakout year when, you know, when I start to get my name more well known on the scene. And I feel like this year was going to be that breakout year, but obviously every now, you know, I think it'll probably just change a little bit where the shows go on, you know, so we'll see what happens over the next few years. But I know that breakout year is very close, where, you know, you start to really get your name known as the industry. And especially in the 2-on-2 class, because it's quite a lot of the guys have retired now. And I think they need that influx of, like, new, fresh, young blood, you know, and I feel like I can be that person, but I just need my time to come and, you know, have those 2 or 3 back-to-back shows where you get good placings, and then it kind of puts you on that pedestal, and people start going, oh shit, this kid could be really good in another 2-3 years time. Because once you see it all the time with top bodybuilders, you see that, you know, they have that breakout year, and then it's only the next 2, 3, 4 years that they really start to progress up the Olympia ranks.
Yeah. Well, someone like Rego would be a great example. That last year, done them back-to-back shows, second, third, like, and then obviously took her to the Olympia.
Yeah. And you know, everyone needs that breakout year, and that's what kind of I was looking forward to this year. But obviously, with everything that's happened, I know it's coming. It's just a case of when. It's like I literally just posted about it before, like, you know, my time will come, and, you know, everything happens for a reason. So I'm a big believer in that, and I believe that, like, you know, it maybe wasn't my time to compete this time, but, you know, hopefully end of the year it will be my time, and we can showcase what I wanted to showcase, you know, at the end of the year if things go ahead.
Sure. So just to wrap up, Jay, I've got 2 quick questions that we ask. So the first one is, if you were sat at a dinner table and you could pick 3 people from the fitness industry, who would you pick? You could have anybody of any era.
Oh man, I put me on the spot like this. You know what? I'd probably say I'd probably want people who I could pick their brains, you know, and I'd like to probably eat with Flex Lewis.
Yeah.
I think Flex would be a good person to sit there and just pick his brain. You know, I'd probably also have Chris there. You know, I've not really met Chris properly in person, but, you know, he's got so much years of experience that I'd love to just sit there and just, like, pick his brain. And the third one, I'd probably go for someone from an older generation, like, you know, like, even like Dexter. Yeah. Because I bet Dexter's got some stories, and, you know, he's been through the 90s, been through the every era. So, yeah, I'd probably say those 3.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. And then finally, your top 3 films, Jay. What films would you recommend to people during this time?
Oh, okay. What did I watch today? The Gentleman. Have you seen this one?
No, I've not seen it.
Oh, The Gentleman was one of the best films I've seen this year.
Yeah.
So I'd say The Gentleman. If I'm going on films that I knew that will probably be released now or very soon, The Gentleman. What was the other one I watched? I watched a few good films this year, so I'm trying to think. Steph didn't watch it. I'm going to go The Gentleman. That's all I've got in my head because I can't even think of the films.
What about ever? If you could pick 3 films from any generation, what ones?
Okay, so we've got The Gentleman. I like Inception. That was one of my favourite films.
Yeah.
And then I'd have to go something classic that's just funny, like, I don't know, like, I don't think you can beat, like, Anchorman. Like, the first Anchorman, I think they're just old school classic films, something like that.
Yeah, no, that's quality. Yeah, quality. All right, Jay, thanks ever so much for your time, buddy.
No problem, man.
So,
Nice to...
If people want to get a hold of you for coaching, how can they reach out to you? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Just hit me up on my Instagram. It's Jamie__IFBB Pro. You know, I'm always on social media, so I get back to any questions, and we always speak anyway. So, yeah, hit me up there.
Sweet. Jay, thanks ever so much, buddy. I really appreciate it.
No problem, man. Anytime. Speak soon.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us, and make sure you subscribe. Until next time, check out all the athletes' updates on Pro Female Fitness, and for all your supplement needs, head over to www.mygymsups.com.